I got stuck there.
Like 10 minutes or indefinitely that they should just stop it and then start again, like after 2 speakers, only because other than I have Alrighty, here we go.
Alright. Imagine if the phone company can mess with your calls. Through bad connections or frequent dropped calls when you tried to order pizza from Domino's because Pizza Hut was paying them.
Or for a more relevant example, I'm sure many of you know that on Monday afternoon, Snapchat went down for a couple hours. Some people lost their streaks, but most people, us included, lost our collective mind. Because for our generation, Snapchat has become a main mode of communication, and according to CNN, has 60 million unique users in the US alone daily.
There could be many reasons why Snapchat went down, but the most probable is simply server connections. However, something like this makes you wonder what it would take to take down such a large media platform.
In the near future, the takedown of such a social media titan could be due to the loss of net neutrality. Net neutrality is necessary and protects our privacy and freedom as consumers of the internet. So, what is net neutrality, you may ask? Well, BattleForTheNet.com defines net neutrality as the principle that internet providers like Comcast and Verizon should not control what we see and do online. Net neutrality is what keeps our internet free and uncensored by large corporations. It prevents ISPs, or internet service providers, from monetizing our search results and potentially blocking sites that aren't as popular or profitable. Now, to understand net neutrality, you must understand the parties involved. An article called The Economics of Net Neutrality, published in the Economist's Voice, categorizes the internet in 4 parts: content providers, internet backbone networks, service providers, and end users. That's you, the consumer. These parties can potentially control what we see online. An article published by USA Today, written by Emily Brown, states that sometimes an ISP is also a content provider. For instance, Comcast owns NBC Universal and delivers TV shows and movies through its Xfinity internet service. Net neutrality prevents ISPs that own content providers from becoming a total monopoly. Some consequences of a regulated internet would be slowing down your internet connection. Without net neutrality, ISPs could potentially manipulate the speed of your internet based on which content providers are willing to pay the most. This infographic illustrates that point completely. The American Civil Liberties Union says that ISPs could slow down or block traffic and communicators that they don't like, and speed up traffic that they do like or pays them extra for the privilege. And so consumers that don't pay the price end up in the slow lane. Another disadvantage of having no net neutrality is ISPs charging you money. Without net neutrality, ISPs could make the user pay more for higher internet speeds or access to more content. Jeffrey Dorfman states in a Forbes article titled "Net Neutrality Puts Everyone in the Slow Lane," to decrease the probability your Netflix won't pause in the middle of a movie, you need to pay for faster delivery of your spam email and Facebook status updates. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I care more about watching Netflix and getting my favorite TV shows and movies than wanting to know what my friends are posting on Facebook every 2 minutes. But without net neutrality, I would have to pay more for both of those services. Now, the last and most important consequence of no net neutrality is censorship. And censorship has already happened by an ISP in real life. For example, in August of 2007, at a Pearl Jam concert in Chicago, AT&T censored words from lead singer Eddie Vedder's performance. The ISP shut off the sound as Eddie Vedder sang, "George Bush, leave this world alone, and George Bush, find yourself another home." AT&T, the self-advertised presenting sponsor of the concert series, denied viewers the complete and exclusive coverage they were promised. Although Vedder's words contained no profanity, an AT&T spokesperson claimed that the words were censored to prevent youth from visiting the website from being exposed to excessive profanity. Now, the rest of my panel will explain the advantages of free internet and how to avoid this kind of censorship. And I hope you all learn more about the definition of net neutrality. Thank you.
Howdy. please allow me to explain to you the importance of the internet as a utility and its advantages in your everyday life. In 1989, the internet was typically used as private communication between businesses. This included business dealings to business meetings. But in the later half of 1989, that all changed. According to the article Birth of the Web, posted on home.cern, which, by the way, is the very first website ever created, it states that Tim Berners-Lee, a British scientist at CERN, invented the World Wide Web in 1989. The web was originally conceived and developed to meet the demands for automatic information sharing between scientists in universities and institutes around the world. On the 30th of April 1993, CERN put the World Wide Web in the public domain. And ever since that fateful day, the world has never been the same. And let me explain to you how. In 1993 alone, only 1% of all information communicated between humans was done digitally. However, this all changed. According to a paper titled The World's Ability to Store, Communicate, and Compute Information by Martin Hilbert, published in 2011, it states that over 97% of all information communicated and transmitted today is done through digital and internet means. And of course, this makes sense. I mean, computers have become cheaper to produce and more widespread. But you must also keep in mind that the sheer volume of data that we transmit has reached levels that neither me nor anyone else can truly comprehend. In a speech delivered at Techonomy by the CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, he states that every 2 days, we create as much information as we did from the dawn of civilization until 2003. As you can see, the internet and the World Wide Web are titans of information transferation. And personally, without the internet, I would be at a loss, both personally and professionally. My favorite news site is Reddit. My favorite entertainment site is Netflix. And the main mode of communication professionally for me is email. So if I lost the internet or free use to it, I'd be able to not only lose job opportunities, but also dank memes. So obviously, this is a serious problem, much like if I didn't have enough water to stay properly hydrated. But this is typically not treated the same way. Why is this? Well, according to Overflow Solutions in their article, What Percentage of American Homes Have Internet Access and How Do They Access It?, an estimated 80% of American adults have access to the internet and use it to communicate to some extent. That is 4 out of 5 every American adult. And if you change the range from 18 to around 60 instead of elderly like 80, it jumps up to 90%. And compare that to the Washington Post article posted in 2014 titled 1.6 million Americans don't have indoor plumbing. They state that 1.6 million Americans are without water and indoor plumbing. And a similar situation is happening in Flint, Michigan, where according to CNN Library of Timeline, they've been without uncontaminated water since 2007. Both these instances are obviously tragedies, and people are working at their utmost haste to fix these issues. But in today's world that is run by internet, isn't losing free access to it the same exact thing? Many corporations in today's age use online resumes to find jobs. If you don't have an access to a free or internet, you are unable to get a job. And if you do not have a job, you are unable to provide for yourself and provide for your family. Furthermore, typically, conglomerate businesses around the world use the internet as a means to communicate and set up business deals. If they are unable to use the internet, then they lose these business deals and jobs are again at loss. And finally, for me and my peers, we typically use education apps such as PolyLearn and Polyportal. And those are all through internet means. If we were to lose those, then that puts us at a risk of losing a grade. And luckily, today's courts see it the same way. In 2015, a large legal battle erupted between the FCC and telecom networks such as Comcast, Time Warner, and AT&T. And at the end of that court dealing, there was a 2-to-1 ruling in favor of net neutrality. 2-to-1 ruling was monumental and really kind of cemented net neutrality, but even today it is still being fought over. The 2 judges that ruled in favor of net neutrality stated the following: over the past 2 decades, this concept has transformed nearly every aspect of our lives, from profound actions like choosing a leader, building a career, and falling in love. Personally, I see the internet as integral to my life as food, water, and work. The loss of neutrality is the loss of freedom, is the loss of creation, and is the loss of expression. It is our right as human beings, and it is our right as Americans to yearn to learn freely without be cut off from telecom networks. Don't let Comcast, AT&T, and other companies take away what is given to you by your country, by your God.